Garth Brooks performing for the crowd there over the on the west front of the Capitol, where moments ago we heard the inauguration speech by President Biden. We'll get used to saying that now. President
It's
Biden.
a new era and a new day in Washington as the Constitution decreed at 12 noon the term of the prior president ends and the prior vice president, and there is a new president and vice president, President Biden and Vice President Harris.
Digital gramophone makes no sense.
Hey guys, so I'm gonna do something I haven't done in a little while, which is like a recent pickups, even though it's not really recent. It's kind of spread out over the course of since like after Christmas. Also, some of these are some VCLT that I've received. So after Christmas, I went and met up with Dave, and we went out and we went by Tip Top Daily Market, which has a record store in there. And it's been a while since I've been to that place. The first time that I ever went was when Bill from Final Verse was in town a couple of years ago, and we had a meet up. And yeah, it's a great store. The guy Luke that runs it is an excellent purveyor of records. A ton of great stuff in the used bins, and I picked up several, but there were a lot more that I wanted to grab, but I didn't. Trying to show a little bit of restraint, and got all of these for pretty good prices. So the very first one is this 1978 press of Television's Adventure. Cover's not in the best shape. There's some damage to the spine here, the record kind of poking through, and there's a hole punch, but still, I'm not going to pass up on an earlier used pressing of this sophomore album by Television, which I still love. I know some people think it's kind of lackluster compared to Marquee Moon, and as much as I love Marquee Moon, I do really dig like the more straightforward nature of this album. It's not necessarily a first press, but it's a 78 press. There were a few different variants pressed at PRC. So this one I picked up just because of the lineup, and this is Freddie Hubbard and Stanley Turrentine in concert. This was released in 1973. This is volume 1 on CTI. Yeah, that lineup, are you kidding me? Ron Carter, Herbie Hancock, Jack DeJohnette, and Eric Gale. Yeah, I saw that lineup, and then I picked it up and, got the approval from Dave and decided to buy it. It was only $10, and I think that this is great. It grooves, especially, so it's Povo on side 1, and Gibraltar on side 2. Long versions of those Hubbard compositions, but man, does it groove. And yeah, it really kind of reminds me of like Ethiopian Nights, Donald Byrd almost, which I'm a big fan of that album, big fan of Byrd. Speaking of live jazz, I've been eyeing this one. I've been eyeing more Alice Coltrane. I've had Journey for a long time. I bought it on CD back in the late 90s, and I've since picked up one of the Vinyl Me Please reissues of that album, and that's a favorite jazz album for me. And it's honestly kind of embarrassing that I've never picked up more Alice Coltrane since. but a lot of people have raved about this, and it's pretty affordable live bootleg of Alice at Carnegie Hall. And yeah, it's really cool, especially the second side is gorgeous. But yeah, Ferris Sanders, Archie Shepp, Jimmy Garrison, Cecil McBee, Ed Blackwell, and Clifford Jarvis, and then Tulsi and Kumar Kramer. So yeah, Alice Coltrane's All Stars, and then this one. I'm not going to take it out of the sleeve because we've got something the hype sticker down in there, but this half-speed remastered copy of So by Peter Gabriel. So you know, I've had a copy of this, but it was, you know, VG minus, maybe even. It was kind of a worn out copy, one that I inherited from a record collection that, well, a small piece of a record collection that my wife brought home one day from one of her coworkers. Then Dave and I hopped over to Lunchbox, and I went straight to the world section because I was, my mission was to pick up this Hallelujah Chicken Run Band, Analog Africa. Steve Carlson had just talked about this album in one of his videos, and I just loved the sound sample and his description of the music, and had to pick it up. Zimbabwe, much more kind of traditional sounding, but bringing that kind of tradition into the present day, at least when they were active, you know, around the 70s. But while I was in that world section, picking that up, I saw this. This is Mulatu of Ethiopia. Dave had talked about this. He wasn't the only person that I've seen talk about this, though, in the VC, and I can't remember who else it was. But I had sampled it just actually from seeing Dave post it on Instagram, so before it even made it into his videos. I've been getting into some albums with vibes a little bit more lately, because I've picked up the 2 Hutcherson Tone Poets and that, and then another one that I'm going to show later. I should also mention that this is the 3LP edition, and so there's a mono version of this album, and the mono version sounds amazing. But yeah, this originally came out in 72. All right, so after Christmas, I decided to get something for myself, and like this doesn't count, but I decided to get something special. And I've been hunting down for the last three or so years. I've been stalking some reissues of Hosiana Mantra by Popol Vuh, and it of all the odd places that I was turned on to that album was actually by MC Taylor of His Golden Messenger, who had posted about it on Instagram and had a really nice little blurb about the music, and I sampled it, and I was kind of shocked at how much I loved it on first listen, because it's not necessarily something that's in you know, my wheelhouse or typical music that is in my collection. Even though I have a wide variety of things, I have an eclectic taste in music, it's still not something that I've ever really had a lot of. And but it was gorgeous music, and so you know, I just wanted to get that one album, and it was impossible to find out there or even reissues, or were just way too much. If I had bought it overseas, even for a good price, shipping would have taken it to $60, $70. I'm not paying that much for a reissue. I stumbled upon this. This is Popol Vuh Volume 1 of the Essential Album Collection. So this is a box of 5 albums. And this was put out by BMG. And they did a really nice job. The packaging is fairly nice. The sleeves aren't like, it's not like, they're not like Stoughton sleeves or anything, but they're, you know, they're nice gatefolds. Kind of standard stock. But yeah, 5 of what they consider their essential albums, and so there's Hosiana Mantra. And I got all 5 of these after shipping. For only double what I would have paid for one of those reissues. Not even quite that. So I thought it was a really, really good deal. And, you know, so instead of taking it 1 LP at a time, is a little bit more of a leap into the pool to start with. But I've only listened to Hosiana Mantra since I got it. I plan on giving all of these the attention they deserve. But I think this album is so beautiful. And I know that there are some folks in the VC that I watch that like Alex and at Motoric 247, and I think Sherv picked up a couple of their albums recently. And I know that when I posted this on Instagram, Alan at Stylic Traveler just gushed for a lengthy comment about Florian Frick. Yeah, two of these albums are soundtracks. There's some cool footage and some really good interviews out there on YouTube about Popol Vuh in general, and one really lengthy one with Werner Herzog about working with Frick. So yeah, and then the most recent thing that I've picked up, I had pre-ordered this, and this is Love is the King by Jeff Tweedy, which was actually released last year, but the vinyl didn't come out until last week. And I need more time with it. You know, I'm just a big fan of Jeff Tweedy, but I need some more time with it before I really give a full intention review on it. Man, is he? I mean, when you look at everything that he's done, from Uncle Tupelo to Wilco to Loose Fur to collaborations with Golden Smog and the -5 and Billy Bragg, and I mean, Wilco's put out 3 albums in the last 5 years. Then he's put out this solo album, Warm and Warmer, and then the Together at Last, which was the reworking of some of his solo stuff. I mean, and he's written 2 books. Very prolific activity from Jeff Tweedy in recent years, for sure. So yeah, I just need a little bit more time with it. I didn't stream it last year. So I will say, since I'm showing this, that I'm planning on doing a full-on Uncle Tupelo, Wilco, Sunvolt, J. Farrar, Jeff Tweedy video. And I might do like a ranking of like all of those albums, which is kind of weird to mix the discographies, but I think it just might be kind of fun. And I'm not going to necessarily include everything, but it's a plan. So we'll see. And then last but not least, some VCLT. So some folks, a group of folks that I've been just talking to a lot this year, especially this year. We kind of chat, every day, actually, at least just a good morning, or whatever. And we decided to do like exchange this year. So it was, some of these folks have already shown what they received, and so I just kind of wanted to show them because I was, just really grateful to these friends of mine. So Jeff Kempen sent me this Bob Mould's Blue Hearts. So I put a little wish list together. It wasn't much. It was like 6 albums. But it was 6 albums, and everybody decided to send me this. Not really, but 3 of the 5 people decided to give me this album. What was wrong with the other 5? But no, I'm kidding. This was it was just one that I didn't get to in 2020. And Bob Mould, talk about another prolific guy. I mean, he's been putting out an album a year, almost, for the last 6-7 years. He's still got it. As much as I did like Sunshine Rock and kind of felt that was an apropos title, he gets back to a little bit heavier, a little bit darker in this one. And so, yeah. I need to spin it a few more times though, I think. But yeah, initial first listen, I like Bob Mould. I'm not a Bob Mould super fan. I have a lot of his albums, but I'm missing a lot of the ones from the 90s and the early 2000s after Sugar. But yeah, I'm a fan. So Tim sent me that as well. But he also sent me Facelift by Alice in Chains. So this is what is nice about gifts and VCLT, is that I've this album. I've seen a lot of people show it. I think it's a great. I think it's a good album from that time period. I really like Alice in Chains a lot. And I had thought about picking this up, but I just didn't. And so it was really cool to get this as a gift from Tim. Really enjoyed listening to this once I got it. I like Alice in Chains' sound and Jerry Cantrell, his tonality and his guitars and his vocals and harmonies with Lane Staley. I think that Alice in Chains is one of those bands that, even though it was very specific to the time, in the early 90s and grunge, there's like a heaviness to this, and it pays homage to a lot of like heavy and proto-metal from years past that I feel like it just holds up really well today. Unlike some other earlier albums by Seattle bands from the early 90s. So Tim insisted on sending me a replacement because I shipped the Mould album back to him, and I think I maybe waited too long. I don't know if he was able to return it. So I'm sorry about that, Tim. But he insisted on sending me a replacement, and so he sent me Speak No Evil, Wayne Shorter, the Blue Note Classics series. So I plan on picking up as many of these as I can this year that I don't already have. I have a number of them. I have some Japanese presses, some 70s Japanese presses that I've had for some years now of some of those albums. I did pick up the Real McCoy, and so he sent me this one, and yeah, I've spun it once, and yeah, I mean it's a Blue Note classic. I need a little bit more time with it, but what a band! Some of the guys that I mentioned earlier, Freddie Hubbard, Wayne Shorter, Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, Elvin Jones on drums. That is a lineup. I don't mean to single anybody out, but this one I was really blown away by and happy to get. Emma at 8 Vinyl Low sent me Albert King with Stevie Ray Vaughan. I think at some point in the past year, she had posted that she was listening to it, or maybe Jeff. And I had mentioned that I didn't have it. I have Texas Flood in Step and the live Double Trouble live album. And those are the only ones that I have. But yeah, they both said that's essential. You have to have it. Of course, Jeff and Emma are going to say that every blues album that they have is essential. I mean, come on. But this was really, really good. And actually, you know, as incredible as the playing is, I'm a big Albert King fan too. I have 2 of his albums, earlier albums. I almost like just the banter in between songs almost more than that, as much as the music, for sure. Yeah, so this was really nice of him to send me, and it's a reissue, Stax reissue, but even those are tough to come by these days. So Brad at H2 Vinyl, my buddy Brad, picked up Blue Hearts by Bob Mould as well. So he held on to it. I think he showed that in a recent video. And he sent me a t-shirt and a tote bag from record stores down in his area, which was really nice. I should have pulled those out to show, but he sent me this album, Sarvace. Now, I don't know much about this, and I haven't really even read up on it since I listened to it. I have spun it. It really reminds me of Mad Villainy a lot. But, you know, it's another one of these MCs sounds like MF Doom, who does guest on here, by the way. But it's hard for me not to think that Mad Villainy was an influence on this album. It came out in 2015. Brad and Tim both are students of hip-hop. They know a lot about hip-hop, way more than I do. And I like hip-hop. I've listened to hip-hop for years, but my collection, especially on vinyl, is nothing compared to those guys. But this is a cool listen. And it kind of has that sound that, like, you know, you're in a specific mood, which is nice to have. So yeah, I appreciate that, Brad. Thanks for sending me that. And then Bill at the Vinyl Verse. I mentioned Vibes earlier. He sent me this Tone Poet, Duke Pearson, The Phantom, featuring Bobby Hutcherson on Vibes. I've seen a lot of people talk about this one, and everybody talks about all of the Blue Note reissues as they get them. And even Vinyl Richie, I think, showed this and talked about how much he really enjoyed this. And I got to be honest, like, this didn't sound exactly like what I expected it to sound like. But this is really good. It still has a sound that I really enjoy. I expected it to be a little bit more like kind of soul jazz influenced for some reason, based on some of the ways that people talked about it in their videos. But yeah, really happy to get this from Bill. Yeah, so thank you to Bill and Tim and Brad and Jeff and Emma. I really appreciate it. You guys have been a good support system over the past year, so I appreciate that. I hope everybody's doing well. Like I said, I plan on doing that kind of Uncle Tupelo tree, family tree video at some point, and you know, I'll keep doing the North Carolina music series. Not a lot of people watch those. I don't care. I don't do that for views. But I appreciate those of you that do take interest in those. It's a new dawn. And yeah, we'll talk to you later. All right, bye.